Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we discuss the Emperor of Mankind, as we ask the question, just why did the Astronomicon go out when the Great Rift exploded? General spoiler warning to begin, as we will be discussing events from across the Warhammer 40k lore, so you have been warned. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Okay, so, as we know, Abaddon the Despoiler, leader of the infamous Black Legion and War Master of Chaos, finally achieved his long-desired goal of destroying the Cadian Gate during his 13th Black Crusade, shattering the ancient Necron wards, holding the Immaterium in check. Not only effectively releasing the traitor legions, but also ripping the very galaxy in half. Now, as if it wasn't bad enough, leaving half the Imperium lost across the other side of the Great Rift, the Astronomicon, the light of the Emperor, the very symbol of his power and presence, went out. Now, if you're fairly new to the lore and a little unsure of the Astronomicon, it's essentially a psychic light that the Emperor guides across the galaxy within the Immaterium, to help the vessels of the Imperium navigate their way through the warp, which is dangerous with it. Without it, is nigh on suicide. Now, it's not a physical light in the real world, being only visible by navigators within the warp. However, it does have the effect of a reassuring presence, almost like a comfort blanket to the mind and spirit of the people of the Imperium. However, this is only truly noticed once it is gone. So, when the Astronomicon went out, this was a major event. Ships were left to the mercy of the ruinous powers within the warp. Whole systems were left alone. The Imperium of Man feared the worst. That their god Emperor was dead. Now, we know from the novel Watchers of the Throne, the Emperor's Legion, the Golden Throne was immediately checked and found to be functioning normally. The Emperor was still alive. Even the highest levels of the Mechanicum were called over from Mars itself, but even their investigation found no problems. They simply didn't know why the Astronomicon wasn't working, and why it eventually came back on by itself. The Days of Blinding, as it was known, lasted 33 days on Terra, and this timescale varied for many worlds out across the Imperium. For many of those worlds, it was much longer. Some are even feared to be without the light of the Emperor still. So why did the Emperor's light go out? We know there was no failure in the Golden Throne, and we know the Emperor is still alive upon it. So what could be the reason? I think the most likely explanation is the destruction of Cadia and the resultant explosion of the Immaterium, flooding out across the galaxy, unleashed a huge psychic assault against the Emperor. Combined with the knowledge of billions upon billions of loyal Imperial subjects crying out in terror, being slaughtered by the ruinous powers, it was simply like a sledgehammer to the stomach of the Emperor. A blow of such overwhelming power, it took him some time to recover. Let's not forget the Emperor's primary focus, still after 10,000 years, is holding the gateway within the throne room closed. Cheers, Magnus. So, as the Emperor was reeling from this assault, He simply had to focus on holding the gateway within the throne room closed. Once he managed that, and regained his strength, he could focus once more on the Astronomicon as well. I think this is the most logical and most likely explanation, but there are a couple of more fun theories to think about. Perhaps it wasn't the sheer force of the Immaterium itself, but an assault by the four gods of chaos themselves, as their followers assailed the Imperium in numbers never seen. Perhaps the gods threw themselves at their most hated and feared foe, the Emperor of Man. Tzeentch, the Weaver of Fates, would no doubt have seen the possible immediate return of one of the Emperor's sons, Roboute Guilliman. If they ever had to roll the dice on taking the Emperor out, now was undoubtedly that time. Maybe the Astronomicon went out as the Emperor was fending off the gods of chaos themselves. Now, as much as I love this theory, admittedly it's not as likely, mainly to me because the Chaos Gods have always feared the Emperor. Even when they had Horus himself at the height of his powers, they cowered behind him in the shadows. I just don't see them going full-bore psychic assault at the Emperor. Even then, at the time of arguably their greatest victory. I could see them taunting him, coming to gloat in their moment of victory, laughing from the shadows, as he struggles against their effects. Perhaps even some form of interaction between them. How awesome would that be? The Emperor of Man telling the Chaos Gods to stick it. He's not dead yet, as the touch by Stan Bush blares out, with the Astronomicon flaring back into life. Ah, my childhood. You just can't beat Optimus Prime. But I digress. Now, there is the theory that the Emperor's mind has split into several different aspects in order to govern the whole Imperium, and this was shown a long time ago in the lore. Perhaps the portion of the Emperor controlling the Astronomicon actually died, and it took time for the Emperor as a whole to readjust. That's definitely an interesting theory. The problem I have with this one though is the whole multiple Emperors theory really kind of went out the window as the editions progressed. Going from the Emperor still governing the Imperium to him not convening with anyone since his ascension to the throne, until Guilliman's final return. So if he's not convening with anyone, he's certainly not still governing the Imperium, regardless of Imperial tarots or not. But it is still worth mentioning, as Abaddon and Kion did encounter a figure within the warp, claiming to be the Astronomicon itself. And though this definitely wasn't the Emperor, it does help to show the possibilities. Now, my last theory is the Emperor chose to stop guiding the Astronomicon. Now, why he may do this is like anything open to wide speculation, and it would certainly have to be a major reason to make him do it. But if there's one thing we have learnt about the Emperor of Mankind, it's that he is always willing to roll the dice on some major gambles for the chance at ultimate victory. Perhaps this could have just been his latest gamble, with the Mechanicum at a complete loss as to why it went out at all, with the Golden Throne still working fine. It's definitely got to be within the realm of possibility. Perhaps he needed to see what the Ruinous Powers' next move would be, to figure out their next ultimate goal. And once he did, he flipped the switch to get his warriors back on the move. Maybe he needed Chaos to overextend themselves, as they would always do, to allow the Indomitus Crusade to be most effective. I doubt we will ever truly know. But one thing is for sure. The Emperor of Mankind is still alive and kicking, and he absolutely has something planned to take the fight back to the ruinous powers. As always guys, what do you think? Why do you think the Astronomicon went out? Was it the sheer force of the Immaterium exploding across the galaxy? Was there some kind of attack on the Emperor himself? Or maybe, just maybe, did he choose to stop guiding it? As always guys, leave your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.